Sara, welcome to Oman FM, and we're very happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So let me begin by asking, what is Souq Al Sabt and why Saturday?
So Souq Al Sabt translates in English to Saturday market, hence the day that we operate on Saturday. We've established this as a brand actually because we then became known as Souq Al Sabt no matter what event we throw. So the brand now became associated with the actual function or event, and we decided to operate on a Saturday because 12 years ago when I started this initiative, actually there were no events or any kind of activities happening in Muscat on a Saturday morning. So we considered, that as like a good time to bring the community together, and at the same time also it was, it's a customary and traditional kind of market to have it on a weekend. In other countries it's on a Sunday, sometimes on a Saturday, depending. In Oman, historically, it's been, Souq al-Jum'ah. So kind of going in line with all of these, we just created our own concept and made it into a Souq al-Sabt.
Lovely. And I heard it's a seasonal market.
Absolutely.
So where does it take place and what's the running period?
Sure. So it's seasonal as in we only operate when the weather is good. Okay, usually from November to March. And we have had, it's a pop-up market, obviously, so we only, appear and then we disappear. I like to, associate us with what my father calls the Omani farmer, who waits all year for, takes care all year of his palm tree, and then once a year it kind of gives him the fruit. So we're kind of along the same line or the same concept. So all year we're preparing for it, and then for 4 or 5 months a year we actually operate only on a Saturday, only when the weather is good, only outdoors during the day. We've also had some pop-up events in the evenings. We created different concepts as well, like night markets. We were introducing that in Muscat as well many years back. We do like winter markets, outdoor markets, all of these events. Hotels want us to do things like Christmas markets as well, so we've supported with those. So the locations have been multiple. Our flagship was before in El Moj. We've operated in Kempinski, we've in El Bustan, Ritz-Carlton, in Sifa, Intercon, and now we're in PDO.
You also mentioned at the beginning that your father somehow had an influence. Do you think he was your main inspiration, or is there any other source
The
of
inspiration really came from my kids. So one day my daughter and my son, we were like in the kitchen, we were making pesto out of all the things because we grew our own basil in the backyard, and they said, why don't we sell this? And I think their inspiration came from a summer we spent in Poland, where the place we were renting to stay was actually in the middle of a very big farmers market that operated there for hundreds of years in one of their major cities, in Gdansk. And they were very inspired by, the people there who made everything themselves. So they said, why don't we have something like this in Oman? That kind of toyed in my mind. And then one night when we were making the pesto, she said, she wanted to sell it. She had a small IKEA table, literally, and they wanted to just sit in the middle of the living room and sell their pesto, not understanding the concept of footfall and people and all this. So we had to kind of call our family and friends and neighbors, we were living in a compound at that time, to just pop in and kind of, buy from them. And honestly, that's how it started in our living room. Neighbors, kids started joining. It started really as a children's initiatives, and with us mothers supporting them. Family friends came, and family and friends, and it just became like a Saturday thing where we all gathered together. And then a few weeks down the line, there were maybe like 60 or 70 people that we didn't even know walking into our living room because they heard that they could buy good stuff, good food or good whatever products. So soon thereafter we had to relocate.
I bet it felt very promising at the time. So,
Yeah, I mean, look, it started really, I would say, not as a coincidence. It's just like as a fun project, let's say. And then it really evolved into what it is today. It really took, a lot of passion, heart and soul, let's say, to get it to where it is today. It was not a planned event, and that's what made it all the more nicer. At the same time, in parallel, I was actually in a government think tank, and we were, looking a lot into incubation and looking a lot into small businesses, entrepreneurship, defining what SMEs were. So that in the back of my mind was also toying, and then I kind of put the two together and thought, okay, this is a good platform to like really promote SMEs and make it like a proper, platform where small and medium, and small in the beginning, medium came in later, obviously, small enterprises could really be promoted. They could really be kind of exposed, people can meet the makers. We usually go to supermarkets, we usually go to malls, and we don't really know who made the stuff we buy. But in a setup like this, you actually may meet the creator or the inventor or the baker or whoever it is that's standing behind the stall. And from there, it grew into what it is today. So we ourselves, we incubated other businesses, but we were also incubated at some point, and yeah, so this is how it
you
evolved.
Mentioned that you started like 11 years ago, 12 years ago.
12 years,
so that was in 2014?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so did you feel like at the time you were filling a gap in the Omani market?
Definitely. I mean, at that time, there was no concept of even opening a stall and selling outdoors. Yes, granted, there were, a few of those mishkak, maybe little barbecue setups here and there, which usually they were trying to regulate all of those kind of setups. Even when we went to the ministry to try to get a permit for the event, they wouldn't categorize us as a market. They'll categorize as an exhibition. We worked a lot with the government, and they were very, very receptive, especially Ministry of Commerce. They were an industry. They were very receptive to the idea. They were very curious about, the whole enablement. At some point, we started establishing a track record where we graduate, let's call, the stalls or the ideas from being, in a kiosk to actually growing into a real business establishment. Once they started seeing that and believing in our kind of objectives and, the quality of our work and all of that, I think they also trusted us a lot to work. So for many years, actually, our concept was very unique, and it was honestly one of a kind, I would say. Now we see a lot of replication, a lot of, I don't know. It's an open market. When we worked with the Ministry of Commerce, we ensured that, the new rules or the new laws that came out were, applicable for all. I was personally involved in doing the regulations for renewing the regulations. They call it al-La'iha. And to ensure that, pop-up markets and things like that could actually be a thing in Muscat. And soon thereafter, you started seeing carnivals, festivals, food festivals, all of these pop-ups come up, which is fantastic because, it allowed for all the small and medium enterprises to kind of come out and be promoted, and for people to have, places to go in the winter time. So I could say I'm very proud of what I see today in a way, because I know it stemmed from something that we have actually initiated.
Okay, so that's the bright side.
Yeah.
So can you talk to me a bit about the challenges you faced?
Of course, every initiative must have challenges. Nothing comes as smooth sailing. And actually, this is, for me, this is the sign of success. It's when you actually have the challenges and you overcome them, day in, day out, then you really stand on your feet and say, I made it, And these challenges continue. It's not that you make it once and that's it. You take it for granted and you move on. That's also not the case. Competition comes up, regulations come up, things that kind of, you don't expect. Sometimes you expect them, sometimes you don't. And it's just how you maneuver your way through them, and how you kind of sustain your image and your quality. This is what matters in the end. So there were some, let's say, hurdles we had to overcome. As I mentioned, getting in the initial stages, getting the government to understand our concept, that was, the first stepping stone. But as I said, they were also very receptive. So yes, it was at some point, I will not even say a roadblock. It was just that, for example, we had to get exceptional approval every single time we wanted to do this. And I thought, okay, so how long do we, keep going to the undersecretary or to the minister and explaining and, asking every year for it? There should just be a law that just allows us to operate,
Did that somehow discourage you?
Not at all. Not at all. When you find that you are actually working with a government body or with an entity that wants to empower you, you feel motivated. You feel like, okay, you know what, it's not the end of the world. Of course, there's a whole bureaucratic, things that we have to go through, the paperwork and all of these things to get the approvals, which, of course, we, after some time, just got used to. But aside from that, operationally, it's been really rewarding, working alongside these entities to actually empower and enable the SMEs over the time.
Great. So let's move on now to the products or the goods that the market offers. Can you tell me which goods maybe gains the most attention?
Sure. I mean, look, we're open to almost everything. We handpick our vendors, though. We try to ensure that the products that are being sold are authentic, local, that they have what the Ministry of Commerce calls local value added. They have to have a local value addition to them. So if somebody imports t-shirts from, I don't know, China, but they design them locally, they put some designs on them and they print their own, logos and designs and things like that, then that's a value addition that was, there. And then there's a whole artist's work that is involved in the making of the designs. So then that is, for me, the artistic part for me is a value addition, and this is what the entrepreneur or the business owner has brought to the table. Our products ranged from everything. I mean, even some guys invented some kind of fertilizer that was really compatible with the climate of Oman. And, there was irrigation systems, very cool irrigation systems that came similar to hydroponics and things that were used indoors. They came and showcased with us. Of course, the bakers, the makers, the food, the children with the lemonade, you name it, we've had it, So it was never really about a product or a service. It was really about the idea and the innovation behind it.
Omani culture, Omani culture historically had markets of all kinds. For example, souqs. This specific model of a weekly farmers market is still emerging. It's still new to the Omani people. So in what ways is a souq different from a farmers market?
So, I mean, look, it's new and it's not new. If you look at Souq Nazwa, for example, that operates every Friday for decades, right? So that's there. That's a staple. If you drive down Wadi Al Kabir on the right-hand side of the road, if you're going towards Bustan Hotel, Al Bustan Hotel, you'll find as well a Friday market operating there. I think usually in the afternoons after the prayer time. So while the concept itself of selling in an open space, usually to bring the community together, is not an odd concept or not a different concept to what we're operating. We have taken it one level higher and just changed kind of the setup. The content, this is the space where the young people come in, where the small businesses come out, where the entrepreneurs showcase, where the innovators stand. So we kind of toyed with that. And in the beginning as well, and ongoing, we had a lot, and because we wanted to encourage the community, we had a lot of expats as well join us in the market. And again, we were the first, event that allowed for expats to showcase and sell their products. Again, this came with approval from the ministry. Obviously, we had worked side by side with them to ensure that these home businesses that were, coming through were at least legitimate in a way that we know who the business owners are, we have their credentials, we we would screen them one by one to ensure that, their products or their services, when they are selling, were also, good, whether it was Omanis or expats, the same way. We did that screening. And when we did that, we maintained a certain quality. And we also avoided a lot of replications. So we didn't become a abaya market or just a bukhur market or a cookie market or a cupcake market. We didn't want the majority of the people selling the same product as well. We were very careful about selection. And after that, we just took off. And as I said, it was never really about a product or a service. It was more about bringing the community together. It was more about empowerment. We have people even from Qurayat join us. We have people from Rissaq join us. We have people from Nizwa, Bahla, you name it. The salt, the dairy products, made in their farms. We've had their, pickles and jarred stuff and spices. We've had Omani food, and these women, a lot of them stemming from the families that wanted to be more empowered. They were so excited to kind of be linked to the Muscat community and be introduced to the Muscat community. And some of them became suppliers. Some of them, started getting orders. Some of them joined bigger events. Some of them were discovered, and then in national days, for example, they received massive orders, or they were asked to go and if they were making, for example, the rakhal bread or whatever, go and make it in their event, in other events. So it was such a beautiful thing to see the community come together and thrive under literally one umbrella.
So, Sara, you've been doing this for over 10 years now. What's your proudest moment, and why is it that you haven't made a public appearance this whole time?
So, of course, I'm super proud of this work, and this for me is a passion. It's not work per se. I have a full-time job that I work at, and I've been at it for many years. However, this is something I did as a side gig in the beginning. But what I felt from this initiative was the reward that you get out of building a community, working with a community, giving back to the community. That kind of result is not measured in finances and how much you make as a salary and what your status is as at work. This is a whole different ballgame, to be honest. And I think my passion for this initiative was my primary goal. It wasn't really about me being out there and saying I own this business and this is mine. And I just felt like along the years this would kind of change the ethos of the whole event. As I said, Tuqa, when you texted me, you really caught me on a good day. I wasn't ever expecting to be on the radio or to speak even publicly about it. It is literally my first appearance. And I thought, what, after 12 years, let's come out and make some noise again. Let's remind people of Souq Sabt. Let's tell people our story, because not a lot of people know it, but a lot of people know about the market, but not about its, origin, its beginnings and all of that. So I thought, why not? Maybe it's time. And the only constant in life is change. So we have to change our minds. We have to change our ways. We have to kind of be adaptable with today's, speed. So I thought, okay, why not? Let's give this a shot.
And was there a moment that was particularly special for you personally that made you feel like, okay, I'm doing the right thing?
See, when I see businesses come to us as an idea, they succeed in the market, and then I see them opening their own shops, and we have a track record of many of those examples. That for me is like, whoa, oh my gosh, look where they started and look where they are now. I can't say this is all us. Of course, it's not all for, but I can definitely say that the market did play a role in this socioeconomic drive. Okay, so in the end of the day, we were a community event. We brought people together, and guess what? We even supported the economy. So in a way, the whole cycle, when it comes full circle, you can stand back and say, wow, I was part of that. And that for me really is something to be proud of.
What would success look like for you in 10 years, let's say? And we're not talking here about size or popularity, but fulfillment. What's your next step? What are you looking for?
I really want to take Souq Al Sabt to other regions in Oman. I've always had the vision of, operating in different regions. I think it's nice to kind of bridge those regions together now and showcase our culture, our traditions, our heritage through this market, especially now with tourism picking up. I see that kind of vision. As I said, in Muscat now, it became saturated with the events, oversaturated actually. And I think now we need to have something new, something different. Let's see what we'll work on. But something along those lines definitely has been toying in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Finally, Sara, I would like to ask you one last question. I think community is a huge thing. It's a big part of Souq Al Sabt. So did you see any meaningful connections or collaborations form out of this?
Definitely. I mean, each and every time anyone would go to the market, they will always see people they know. So we bridge the community in that sense. Whether it's a visitor seeing a friend, whether it's a visitor seeing a vendor who they know, or they've formed a friendship with over the years because they come and buy from them, year in, year out. Connections with, let's say, vendors amongst each other as well. We have a couple of examples where two stalls were next to each other and they sold similar or products that complemented each other, and then they went off and started their own business. For example, one day we had Gloria Jeans standing next to a cookie maker, and the next thing we know is the cookie maker was supplying Gloria Jeans all their branches with their cookies, things like that. So definitely these collaborations and connections happen all the time. We can't even put a finger on it. But just come to a market one day and observe and see how many hugs are exchanged because people bump into each other, especially people who don't see each other that often. And this is kind of the beauty of it, it really does bring the community together. And we managed to bridge the community in a sense that you find the tourists, you find the locals, you find the expats, you find everybody just going there and having a good time. It was never about, one demographic versus the other or one type of, part of the kind of community versus the other. It was always a collaborative thing.
Lovely. This brings us to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for showing up today. And
Thank you.
Hopefully you inspired many aspiring entrepreneurs here in Oman. And for those of you who are interested, you can visit Souq Al Sabt at PDO Ras Al Hamra on Saturday of every week until February 2026. You can also follow their Instagram page at Souq Al Sabt. I'm Tuqa Al Lawati, and you've been listening to 90.4 Oman FM. Catch you next time. Bye.